And demographics, and I'll be presenting Harold Greene, the Employer Relations Manager, just in case you came in late and didn't get the introduction earlier. So we're going to start with the actual enrollment process. Enrollment form, the P1 form. Most of us have seen this, but for those of you that haven't, this is the enrollment form that the member completes when they enroll with you as an employer, get hired in with you as an employee. Then we're going to take a look at the employee lookup to determine whether or not an individual is actually in our system or not. Demographics manual page, going to go over that again. This has been a recent topic from some of our employers that have been having some issues with completing that and understanding what needs to be entered in there. And then the new enrollment rules. So we're going to get started with the P1 form. So when a new employee is hired into your agency, excuse me, one of the first things the member should complete is the membership form, also known as the P1 form. It's on the left-hand side of it. That's page 1 of it. On the right side is page 2 of the form. And on page 2 is the member's beneficiary information. This is extremely important to the public safety retirement system and to the member themselves, because we would love to have their beneficiary on file. The purpose of you sending these forms to us once the enrollment is complete is that we'll always have these records on file to verify a member's information. Should there be a misspelling or a data entry of a date of birth or maybe a social security number that was entered incorrectly during the process, whether it was through the employer or if we enter that in the system for the employer, the paper form is our backup and provides all that information so we can go in and easily correct those issues. So next, why is it important that the membership form be sent to the public safety retirement system? I kind of provided you some of the answers earlier. Is it record keeping? Is it verification of information provided? Or update member's beneficiary? Well, it's actually all of the above. The file is sent to us, of course, and like I mentioned earlier, this is where we actually store this in the member's file. It's a permanent record. We'll digitize it and put it in there, and then we can use it to make any corrections that may be necessary in the future. But like I said, most importantly, it's the beneficiary's information that we really encourage you to send this form in that has that included in there. Next, we'll take a look at the employee lookup. So currently, now that the members completed that membership form, it's time to verify to see if they're an existing member within the retirement system or not, or if they're actually completely new to the retirement system. So you can accomplish this through the employer portal. Once you're logged into your employer portal, you're going to go to the employee lookup. From there, you're going to enter the employer. You're going to drop down and select your particular employer that you're associated with. You'll enter the member's social security number and then enter their date of birth and select find. If they are in the system already currently, then the right side of this screen that you're seeing is employee lookup results will indicate for this particular person that they're actively contributing and that their status effective date was back in 2001. So this tells you that they're in the system. If you see this, then what may be happening as well, if it still says active and contributing and you're having problems in the next section that we're going to talk about, the demographics page, we'll discuss that a little bit more, what could be causing that if they're an active member here. If it's completely blank, then you'll know that this is a new member to the retirement system and that you'll just need to go ahead and complete the demographics page with all the information on it. So in the demographics manual page, it's used to update a member status, actually provide accurate information in there, helps us make sure that everything is accurate, and make sure that it's sent to us in a timely manner, because we worry about if it's a new member, their 90-day election period is the most important part there. Locating the actual demographics page, once you're at your employer portal login, Then hover over the employer menu, as you see, and then in the red there, the first square on the left is the demographics. You'll hover over that. And then it also drops the demographics manual page to the right. And that's what you'll select in order to get to that. What that does is that takes us to the fillable and the status change of the demographics manual page. And this is a screenshot of what it actually looks like in the demographics data. So once again, you'll select your employer. It is important that you regularly maintain this for all of your employees, not just new employees. So if you have any current employees that may have an address change or status change of any sort, this is where you'll definitely want to do that. The required fields that you see are in red asterisks. You'll see that the first name, last name, social security number, date of birth, email address is not an asterisk item. However, we do encourage our employers and our members to use their personal email addresses here, not the work-related, because if an individual does leave your employment and actually goes to work for someone else or decides to refund at a later date, they forgot their password, they're not going to have access to the work email address that they may have used here. So encourage your employees to use the personal email address. So once you've entered all the information with the red asterisk for a new employee, then you're going to select the effective date that they actually joined. And then the status date, the employment status you'll select is hired as well. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And once that's done, you'll click submit. Now, if you already have an existing member and all you're doing is going in and updating the information, such as if a member was divorced or unfortunately if there was a death to an individual and you needed to change their particular information, you do not need to complete the status effective date or the employment status. That can be left blank. You'll fill in the rest of the information, the updated information if they change their last name or so on, and then click submit, and that should update the system at that time. Once again, the P1 form, make sure that that gets sent to us, and then we can update the information as well. If the member wants to update information directly, once they log into their own personal portal account, then they'll be able to update their information as well there. So next, we're going to take a look at the employment status. And this is where some of our employers have been having some questions lately regards to employees transferring from other agencies, what they need to use, and so on. So in the employment status under the quit/terminated is what we're going to concentrate on today. So first we'll start with a question for you about that particular status. When would you update the employment status to quit or terminated for an individual? The demographics data can be updated when you're within 14 days of the contributions being posted to the public safety retirement system. So if a member decides to terminate during a pay period, then you can go ahead as soon as you find out that they've terminated, you can go in and update the status on this. So that way, when this member actually moves to another employer of the system, they'll be able to enter their information in right away and not have any delays in their contributions. Also, it locks up the system so you can go ahead and put yours in. It doesn't freeze it. It just allows you to go ahead and put your contributions in at the end of your pay period as well. And then, like I said, this has been something that's been coming up lately where it wasn't known that individuals that handle payroll could submit the contributions on an individual who is left. They wait till the end of the pay period and then submit the contributions, which is fine. You can do that. It's the status part that's the most concerning is that waiting until you submit the contributions and then changing it to leave without pay delays the process for that gaining employer. So if you can just go in and change it once the employee's left, as long as you're within that 14-day window of the contributions being posted, then there shouldn't be any problems for either employer. Excuse me. So now that you're familiar with the quit terminated in the 14-day period, let's go ahead and take a look at the new enrollment rules that were created in October for our employees. This is applicable to PSPRS employees and Corp only, and that would be, as you see, for our AOC probation officers and our surveillance. So it was established in October of 23. And what does re-enrollment mean? Basically, it opens a 90-day window to either reconfirm existing elections for a member that has been in the system that is moved to a new employer, or it allows them to change it. So it depends on what they would like to do. Keep the same one, or they can change it. Now, any changes made will remain in effect for the remainder of that member's employment with that particular employer. One thing to remember is that for new employees to your organization that is already in the retirement system, it opens up the 90-day window to either reconfirm their original election with the past employer, or it allows them to update or change that to the new employer. When the member is initially enrolled in a previous recorded plan, when can the changes be made? It's if returning to the same employer, a bona fide 6-month period has to elapse since that termination. So if they left you, coming back, they left you in December, coming back now, then the contributions, they should have a new election because we're beyond the 6-month period. So just remember that the 6-month is key if they're returning back to you as the same employer. Reemployment with a different employer allows them to go ahead and have a new 90-day window. Reemployment in a position that's provided a different plan option. Example is AOC position changes, new 90-day window as well. The 90-day window is given to members to reconfirm existing elections or update changes once again. That one-time opportunity does close upon confirmation from the member on a new decision, whether it's to stay with the same original one or to change it. As soon as you receive that, then that starts the new cycle on that one as far as contributions and so on to whatever plan they decided. And continuing on with the new enrollment rules, during the new election period, the member will continue to earn service credit in previously recorded plan. So they're not going to lose any time. Once they start with you, they'll continue to earn that service credit. Contributions from the member and the employer are required during that time of the election period. And that would be at the rate that the member originally elected. And if the member doesn't make any new elections during that 90-day period, they'll automatically default back into the original plan that's on the system. And then any changes remaining in effect for that duration of that member's employment with that employer. So the members should understand that any changes will stay in effect with that particular employer. Now, if they decide to leave you and go to another employer, then they'll have that new 90-day election period as well. So that's the end of the demographics and the new enrollment rules. And from here, we're going to take